Yeah, when you mentioned that I do some kind of do when I'm doing stuff, uh now the only thing that's stuck in my head is the stupid McDonald's do. But I think I know the thing that you're talking about because strangely I can hear my dad doing it in my head. So I'm
That's
like,
funny. Oh
uh-oh.
boy.
How did I inherit that without even knowing?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's how it works, isn't it?
Someone was posting on Facebook, I think like 2 months ago, that when she's alone and doing stuff, she finds herself singing or humming a particular song. It was a theme song to some show. And I realized that one of my favorite is when Bender is climbing through the air ducts in Breakfast Club. There's the song behind him. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. 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 And he's saying whatever speech he's giving and he's talking to himself. It's just like that is my apparently when I'm alone I need that. I need that tune. I will do
Breakfast
that.
Club is one of those ones I think we talked about that happened for me a little later in life,
Yeah.
and I think I've only seen it once, so I don't remember that. But I totally have songs like that too, from different sections. The Back to the Future theme is one that I often gets stuck in my head. Indiana Jones gets stuck in my head a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually listen to a lot. Speaking of Enlightened Couch Potato stuff, I
Yeah.
actually listen to soundtrack music a lot. I don't know if we've talked about this.
I don't know.
This is something I started doing on my own a long time ago, and then I found out Jason Silva does the same thing. He's a consciousness guy, personal development-y kind of sort of.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's something really epic about it. It's almost like because it's designed to be listened to while something else is going on, it becomes the soundtrack to whatever it is you're doing. And I often listen to like epic is the key word,
Yes.
epic soundtracks. So like going to the bathroom with Hans Zimmer playing in your ears is so much fun.
Yeah, no, I can imagine anything that you're doing in life if it's like an action film.
Yeah.
Somebody put out the the Avengers theme as people are like coming out of a pool. Actually, they fall
Yeah.
backwards, but they do the reverse of the pose. And I
Yeah.
was like, as you were saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to now experience pooping epically
Yeah.
because I want like the
Yeah.
soundtrack of my life to be my
I'm
morning
telling
routine.
you, it's worth
Like,
it.
this is me washing my boobs.
Yep.
This is me trying to reach my foot.
And then it's
Da-da-da.
like, boom, dun 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 dun. Oh, Terminator 2. That's another one. Dun 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 dun. That the fucking, there's an anvil sound in there. I love it, like the clanking metal
Oh
in
my
the
gosh.
soundtrack. Oh,
No.
I love that theme.
Oh, that's
Terminator
awesome.
2 theme is incredible.
Oh, it makes me want to go back because I know that the over the top theme is really good, but I don't remember it right now.
Oh, that's the arm wrestling movie, right?
Yeah,
I bet that one's great.
yeah. This I don't know when they will arrive, but I have maybe five. Yes, I think I have five T-shirts from TV shows that are on the way. I own
Ooh.
what, three? I own four
You're
currently.
buying wardrobe for the podcast?
Yes, I am. I'm
Yeah.
not like showing them. I show them sometimes, but I am so excited that they are on the way. I got to geeking out, and what I love are
Is
things
this
that
a
are not
teaser?
obvious.
Like you're not going to tell us what they are? You're going to wait
Maybe
and make
not.
us see them?
Not so teasing. It does remind me that we made the agreement that somehow we would watch Cobra Kai together.
Right, and I heard it got picked up by Netflix for the next season,
So
and
three.
Netflix is apparently being really good about like we don't want to change anything. We want to give you complete creative control. The only thing that might happen is now you have more money.
Oh my.
And they're bringing all the team over, and like the creative team is very happy about the move. So that's awesome. I've heard great things. So
Amazing. Okay, so we haven't said hello. We
oh
can
right,
do that.
okay.
Ready?
Do you want to make this the beginning of the podcast?
Do you want a doopy doop?
You got to point it out when I'm doing it so that I know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm duping. You can dupe your own thing, or you can talk over my duping. I'm gonna dupe.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the Enlightened Couch Potato Show. I'm Nicholas Rave, the person duping.
I'm Adrianne Gunn. I'm out of air.
And here in this podcast, we explore how to watch movies and TV for maximum psychological and spiritual development.
Or how to TV deeply.
Our philosophy is that movies can be a meditation, TV can be transcendent, and that it's a thing that a lot of people feel really guilty about, but you can actually let go of that guilt and fully enjoy and be present to the time that you're already gonna spend watching movies and TV. All you have to do is open your mind to the idea that it could be a transformative and valuable experience instead of some guilty pleasure you have to feel ashamed about.
Absolutely. I actually had a lot of not dropping into the experience in my last week since we did our show. Yeah. Boy, is that. So it's frustrating to so I was in life, I was feeling some tension and frustration. I'm like, here's my TV time. I'm on a TV and I'm on a salad. I will say, salad is not an easy food to eat. I don't know if you've heard about this. So salad's the lettucey bits. And shout out to my friend who may still be joining us in here, who brought me greens. Really thrilled to have greens. And also to have, I believe, learned that if you put wet towels, your greens last longer in the bag. They don't go bad. Maybe that's why. Or just maybe friendship is what is needed for greens to stay
probably
fresh
that
in a refrigerator.
And Mozart, right? Play the music.
Mozart in the fridge. Could be a movie title. Anyway, so I had some frustration in my life and I was attempting to watch some shows. And then, I hard passed on a lot of things. A friend had me agree to try to watch Fleabag again because she really likes it. And when I expressed to a few people who are like, oh my gosh, Fleabag, it's the best thing, why I could not. I haven't made it through, the first time I tried several years ago to watch the first season, I think I paused at minute 10 of the first episode, and then I paused again some more. And I didn't remember this last week when I tried to watch it where I had just bailed. It just asks so much of the viewer when right in the first moment you've got somebody breaking the fourth wall and then engaging with you. I want to be dropped in the mode and everybody's doing their lives and I'm letting it live through me, but I'm not ready to engage with the fake human on the TV. I'm like, wait, so it's pulling me in and out of state that I normally utilize for TV. And if I'm eating salad and I'm not looking up, I don't see the wink or the weird thing that's probably funny about the show. And it's just as frustrating as missing subtitles when I didn't know there were going to be subtitles because I'm eating and not reading and that sort of thing. So apparently, I paused 3 or 4 times in the first episode. I think these are 20, 30-minute episodes. I got to episode 2 and bailed at probably the same spot that I bailed last time because I was just too distracted and jolted in and out of it. I think I stopped in the middle of a couple episodes of Batwoman.
Wait. Before you move on from
we want to Fleabag some more? Have you watched it?
I had the same experience. And that makes me feel like there's actually probably something there.
Yeah.
And that maybe the reason why everybody loves it might be the reason we hate it. And I wonder if it's because the impression that I've gotten from people who I respect, who are they like the same things that I like. And they're like, this is the most genius thing that has come out in forever. I wonder if it's really good at putting you into a particular emotional space that you and I have trouble with. And I wouldn't have thought of that. I would have just been like, it's not my cup of tea. But when you said you had the same exact experience, that's what made me go, okay, maybe there's actually something there worth wrestling through.
I mean, I'm an '80s kid, right? So I don't mind a camera aside. Ferris Bueller.
Right.
It's the frequency of breaking the fourth wall and not allowing you to drop into a moment. Plus, on top of, we don't even know this person,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and it's I can get how it's funny, and I can get how shocking and wonderful. I love the crassness, kind of this character. And yeah, I'm told that the second season they do less of the fourth wall breaking.
I've
and it gets better.
heard that the second season is when it is like the first most people like the first season, but they've also said the second season is better. I don't know. I guess I've just heard enough people who are like who claim to have gotten to know that show and said it's worth getting to know.
Right.
Yeah.
I keep
So
trying.
I don't know. I want to give it another shot.
Here's
But I
what's
think
rough.
Cobra Kai should come first.
It's fair. Here's what's rough for me. It's one thing to go into a state and allow a character that I may not be in alignment with currently, like with some distance. You know, they're interacting with other people. There's an array of humans having interactions that I can just drop into a more meditative state and allow to happen, and allow the characteristics of someone that I may or may not like
Right.
to reveal things in me.
Yeah.
It is an entirely different thing for a character that I may or may not like to start coming up and then fucking talking to me in my living room, right? So I'm sure that this character's arc is not dissimilar from a like 15 years ago version of me. I can recognize that there's shit.
So
but
this
what I'm
this
going
thing's
through
bringing
is,
up
like,
some personal stuff about asshole Adrianne.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like, whoof. I look, I can get into a hot mess on screen, totally fine with me. And I don't have a lot of those people in my life right now that I
Yeah.
actually talk to
Yeah.
on purpose. So when someone breaks the fourth wall, I'm like, hey, it's like interactive theater. You gotta be fucking prepared for that, and you've got to drop into a different level of like,
Right.
this is gonna be the time where I on purpose hang out with people I broke up with a decade ago. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Like how do I jump in to say yes to something like that?
Yeah, I'm really curious. Now, I mean, it's quite possible that what is bothering us, even though we got sort of turned off at the similar point in the show,
Yeah.
I wonder if what's bothering us could be completely different triggers. I don't know. Maybe it resonates with me in that way. Now I feel like I got to go back and watch it because I'm like, there's some resistance here that I think I need to go through. If it was like something everybody was like, this is garbage, and if you watch it, you're going to think it's garbage, I would not bother probably.
Right.
But
Yeah.
now I'm like, oh, well, okay. I don't know.
Totally.
Run toward that which scares you and intimidates you, and
It'd be fine if I don't know. It'd be fine if it was scary.
makes you uncomfortable,
It
stretches
makes
you
me
out of
want to
your
like. I'm probably yelling at the screen.
yeah. Maybe
And
that's the catharsis you need to have.
Apparently.
Maybe
Apparently
that's
this week,
I don't know.
yelling at all the characters on the screen. The other yelling and being irritated at the screen was. I know that superhero shows can be playful and quirky. I have a feeling that all of the Batman Gotham related shows really like their puns. I know that fucking Flash goes into moments of like puns, and like the B villain keeps doing the B things. It didn't happen in Arrow so much, and I really liked how dark Batwoman was. And then somewhere in the second half of their first season, and all of the characters are. I just watched 2 episodes like with like fingers scratching the chalkboard full of puns, and I'm like, is this part of the trope here in Batman Gotham world? Does everybody have to do puns about their villainy?
I mean, it probably is a callback to a period of time in the comics, because I do think that was a thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it translates well, and I don't know if it's timely. Like, that's out of touch humor, quite possibly.
I think think so. I'm not sure why. There's just well, so I blamed myself. I just blamed myself. I'm like, recognizing that actually puns do well in UK still, but not so much in the US. The US has moved beyond puns. And I also recognize that Legends of Tomorrow, the characters, when they'll say a pun, say it in a tone that means we know this is stupid.
Right.
We're doing it anyway, and we're poking fun at ourselves for having that jump out. There's a difference of like saying the pun or the clever turn of phrase or whatever when you know it's hokey as fuck,
Yeah.
and attempting to
Then
deliver
it's a dad
straight.
joke. It's like, I know that I'm saying this and it's not funny, but it's funny because it's not funny. So
Yeah.
did you see Bojack?
Not yet. That's
Bojack
the first
Horseman?
thing? Yeah.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Real heavy. Like, it's not an easy show to get through. It's shockingly like ugh at times.
Oh, no.
But it is also, and it's much more hit and miss than some of the other animated stuff that I love. Like Big
Yeah.
Mouth. Big Mouth is like 100% brilliant,
Yeah.
and Bojack, if you average it out, it's close to 50-50. But the brilliant stuff is, there's one episode where the entire episode is Bojack giving a eulogy for his mom. It's a monologue for an entire episode, and it is mind-blowing. Like,
Wow.
it's so moving and so poignant. Anyway, they have the most advanced pun game that I've ever seen. And there's times where they will go like 5 minutes of a conversation back and forth between two characters where every single line is a pun and they don't stop. And it's one of these things that's like, it's funny and then it's not funny and then it gets funny again and then it's not funny again and then it gets funny and then it gets funnier.
Right.
And then sometimes you're just like, you guys are just showing off. Like, the wordplay is, sometimes it's not even entertaining. It feels like it jars you out of the story to a certain extent.
Right.
But it's also just like flexing these like linguistic muscles that are really impressive.
Well, and that's kind of different. That's like taking what you expect and then exaggerating it, which is what comedy is.
Yeah,
supposed to like.
that's exactly how they play with it. Yeah, and but they don't have that. We know this isn't. They don't do the tone.
Right,
the way they do it is very serious. They're like very seriously saying the pun, but you can get that the comedy aspect of it is, we're going to make you sit here for 3 minutes and listen to these stupid fucking puns. And they think that's hilarious.
Right. That is also the stretching the joke thing is also part of what's to love about Family Guy.
Oh,
when
yeah.
I'm in the mood to love Family Guy.
Yeah. Like the chicken gag, the repeated chicken gag when he fights with the chicken. Or like one of my all-time favorite Family Guy gags is when he's running home and he trips and then he's holding his leg and he just goes, ah! And they keep it going. That was golden age Family Guy. Speaking of Batman and animated, can we tangent for 1 second? There is an argument that many fans of Batman make that the best thing, at least television movie related Batman thing, is Batman the Animated Series.
Interesting.
Which is a kids show.
Like the 90s is when that came out?
Yeah, it's a
sort of remember
kids
it.
show, but it is not funny. It's dramatic. I mean, it has funny parts. That's where Mark Hamill as the Joker started. And it's got a beautiful artistic look, a very like Gothic Art Deco style, and it's done in this sort of like, you can't quite tell what year it is. Like, it might be the 50s, but some of the technology doesn't work for that. It's a very cohesive, and a lot of people have gone back and been like, I watched this when I was a kid, but if you go back, like, some of the storylines are more, they have more gravitas, even though it's this animated kids show, than any of the movies have ever had. and does not have that kind of punny thing the thing you're saying that you're like, I'm not sure I like this about the Batwoman
Yeah.
thing.
Well, I don't think the movies have that. The movies have,
No, the movies are super serious.
which is great. Yeah, I found myself just like getting highly irritated and like, this is not why I want to watch TV, and
Yeah.
just being very hesitant to pick something. Because I'm like, I don't know. Am I in the wrong state for this,
Yeah.
or is it gonna like re-trigger?
Do
I
you
don't know.
have a thing though that you
I
actually
did.
did
I
watch?
do. I want to come back to it, and you have like you have one.
I have
thing you wanna
a
talk about?
thing. So this
Oh.
last week has been kind of nuts for me too. I didn't watch a lot of TV. I did watch some, but the majority of it's stuff we've already talked about. Like
Yeah.
we finished Futurama. We have been watching The Simpsons, just like comfort food. It's just something to put on.
Yeah.
And we're still going through Farscape slowly. Faye and I are still watching Penny Dreadful and Tales from the Loop. We're in the middle of too much shit right now, which is why I can't add new things. But I didn't watch any movies. But we also started watching a movie and then didn't finish it. But I can talk about it because I've seen it several times.
Okay.
And I felt like this was one that I could definitely share some pontification about. Have you ever seen The Abyss?
Oh yeah.
Can we
haven't
talk
seen
about
it
The
in a while.
Abyss?
Yeah. Mary something ones. Mary Elizabeth.
Yes. Masterson, is that right?
No.
That's somebody
No,
else?
Monster Ramo. She
Okay.
was also in the King Arthur movie with Richard Gere and Sean Connery.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the sleeve still bears the stain. Again, I know lines that no one gives a
First
shit
night.
about.
First night.
First night,
That's-
thank you.
Yeah.
Movies. The sleeve still bears the stain. How useful is that? Not at all in any conversation. Guinevere.
That's your
King Arthur
completely
meet-
out of the blue quotes that no one's ever going to get.
Like, great, thanks.
Yeah.
Tourette's, it runs in the family, and this is the version I get. It's just dumb shit. That and repeating nah.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
Ed Harris, and Zane, Michael Bain from Terminator and Aliens and The Abyss.
Yeah.
And he always plays basically the same character, except in this one he goes nuts. So I adore this movie. I watched it. It was one of the movies that I watched with my dad when I was pretty young, but old enough to get it and old enough to be into it, but it was dad's movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
the first rated R movie I ever watched was, I think, Die Hard. I watched it with my dad and it was like this big deal because, ooh, it's a rated R movie. And I was like, oh my God, this is so badass. I didn't say that when I was like, whatever, old. And then I think we watched Predator, which is pretty violent. But again, it was my dad and he likes Arnold. And then at some point he's like, this is a movie that's a little more science fiction. It's less action. It can be a little scary. But what do you think? So I watched it, and then I think I've probably watched it 5 times or more because I've introduced people to it. Faye's never seen it. Liz had never seen it, so I introduced Liz to it just recently. Then I'm like, I'll watch it again for Faye. So there's a lot to say about this movie. Like, I think that James Cameron may be one of the greatest filmmakers of the 20th century. Like, I think that if you stack his movies up against Spielberg, you will find more consistent hits and quality. I'm not saying he makes Schindler's List. Like, it's not like life-changing, universe-changing, like, art. Although I do think his stuff is perfect. But from an entertainment perspective, I mean, how do you get one dude who does Titanic and Avatar? Like, that's pretty impressive. So on top of that, he has Terminator 2, Aliens, True Lies. Have you ever seen that one with Jamie Lee Curtis and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
Such a stupid but fun movie.
Yes.
Right. So Abyss is possibly my favorite one of his movies. I think it's the most deeply symbolic
Totally.
of his movies. So there's the story, plot, and stuff, but I just kind of want to skip ahead and be like, listen, if you've seen the movie, spoilers. So there's a submarine that goes down, and there's a deep sea oil drilling facility, and they have to go down to recover the nukes on this submarine, and they don't know why it went down, so they send these Navy SEALs down there, and they sort of commandeer the vessel, and then a deeper mystery unravels because they find when they're out exploring the nuke that there are some creatures down here on the bottom of the ocean, and they don't know if they're good or bad or what's going on. And okay, so there's a couple of keys, I think, to interpreting the deeper symbolism. So first of all, he breathes that oxygen liquid at some point, right? And that is very intentionally pink. Because when you watch Ed Harris drop into that abyss in that, I believe that's one of the most poetically captured archetypes for the journey into the depths of the unconscious. But also, I would argue there's something in there about birth trauma and healing this stuff, because it looks like amniotic fluid. Like it's so obviously he's like in the womb and he's going down. And then when you see the alien spacecraft and all this, it's all these curved lines and all these very certain shaped things and everything. So to me, okay, so there's another aspect to it that I think is really interesting to me. It's playing on a desire that we all have for there to be a higher power, I think. I think that the interesting thing about this is that it's like, for people who don't believe in angels, here's a way that you can entertain the possibility that angels might be real. Except they're just aliens and they're on the bottom of the ocean. Because did you know there's a director's cut?
Ooh, I have not seen it.
So, spoilers. In the director's cut, the story there is a pretty significant difference, and it's almost exclusively at the end. The end of the movie is that when Ed Harris gets down there, the aliens threaten to destroy the entire world. They have a 500-foot tidal wave that is like that they freeze in space as if it's about to crush all cities on the planet. And they basically are like, you guys are awful. And they show like violence and war and the Holocaust and nukes and all this, and they're like, you're destroying the planet and it's affecting us, and we like you can't do this, you're not good stewards. But Ed Harris saves the day, because on his way down there, remember, he's like texting. He's texting back because he can't talk with the stuff in his lungs. And he texts back and he says, knew this was a one-way trip when I came down here, which was him saying, I'm coming down here to sacrifice myself for everybody else. And the aliens go, okay, there's good.
There's hope. There's good
in you humans.
Yeah.
And it honestly, it's kind of clunky when you watch it. Yeah. You can see why James Cameron was like, I want to take it out. But I like it. I like it. It doesn't flow as well in the story, but I like that added component where they were like, we are the all-powerful, like the higher power you're looking for, it's us. And you failed, which is very almost Lovecraftian in this like...
It's super biblical. Like,
sure,
we've been through this huge tidal wave.
Of course.
Before, I guess.
Yeah. And then one individual's pure heart saves everybody, which again, that goes back to the Joseph Campbell, like Ed Harris is symbolic of the protagonist, or he's the protagonist. So he's the conscious mind that has to go through this evolution. And there's this thing that shows up very clearly in The Matrix 2 that is like, it's the individual love of the hero for the love interest, whatever it is, that gives him the will
Yeah.
to do what he's supposed to do. And like in the Matrix, they talk about the iterations of the one, and they say that like all of your predecessors had a more generalized love of humanity. So they're kind of referencing Jesus and Buddha and these types of predecessors. And he's like, but you, it's different. You seem to be focused on one individual, which is Trinity in the story. And then there's a concept in Joseph Campbell's philosophy that it's that focus on one that then can expand out into your love of the rest of the world and being willing to sacrifice yourself. And for me, I always see that as symbolic of the conscious mind needs to fall in love with the unconscious mind. And that's the way where you get everything you're looking for outside, inside first. So I freaking love that movie. And that angel, like Rosetta Stone, was the key for me to get it, was to think about that as a desire for this higher power, because feeling like there isn't one is uncomfortable. It feels like we're the top of the fucking thing. Like there's nobody else. Like, and so that movie's like wish gratification. Right. We would all love it if this would happen. Not all of us, but some people, some part of all of us would love it if somebody infinitely more advanced showed up and said, okay, well, we were going to destroy you, but it turns out we're not because you're good. So we're going to help you now.
Well, and we were like, we were crafted and split apart and divided and goo and then made parts of us in a thing that was more sophisticated than our beginning. Like our beginnings inside the womb are that structure too, where our entire cellular structure is based on something beyond us, bigger than us, that we're from.
And symbolically, it's I think that also overlaps with the womb stuff and going back, but also that time when we were all at that age when there was a higher power. And I don't know if you've heard, have you looked into much about sleep paralysis? Do you know what that is?
I've heard of it, yeah.
It's one of the interesting things about it is it's an explanation for alien abduction experiences. That basically when you wake up in this dream state where you're asleep, but you're conscious enough to know that you're asleep, but you can't move.
Yeah.
Because there's a part of your brain that shuts off when you're dreaming, so you don't like run in bed while you're running in your dream.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself in that situation, for many people, the automatic unconscious reaction is absolute terror.
Right.
And that can actually trigger hallucinations in that moment. And some people, Stanislav Grof in particular, theorize that the reason why people hallucinate aliens, like coming and doing experiments on them, and often related to their bathing suit area, is because of diaper changing.
Huh.
That at some point we were all laying there powerless, looking up at these creatures with backlit, right? There's light behind them, so you just see kind of a silhouette.
Yeah.
And they've got big eyes, and they're looking down at you, and they're talking to other people about you.
Yep.
Right? It's
and
a very
things are happening to your butt.
Yeah, exactly. And things are happening to your butt, right? So it's a very like sound theory on what that could happen. I suppose there could be some of them that are real, but I think that it makes far more sense to me that it's hypnotic hallucinations that are based on really deep old memories.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing it, and it's fascinating. Also confused about why I hadn't come up with that idea. That totally seems like something I would have come up with. Probably not aliens. Probably pre-verbal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good God. Yeah, The Abyss was one of those movies when I was younger that would come on HBO, and I, like, wherever it was in the movie, I would keep watching it. Although I haven't in, 25 plus years, so I'm sort of remembering shapes. Pink. I remember Pink. I remember breathing underwater. But yeah, the rest of the bits I didn't quite remember.
And there's definitely a like the archetypes that you can map onto it are pretty straightforward. You've got protagonist and love interest, conscious, unconscious mind, and then you've got the Navy SEAL who goes nuts, who's the judgmental, critical mind, but also he's afraid and traumatized. So he's like, I see something unknown and it's a threat and I must destroy it. And it's the kind of out of control yang aspect that we have to learn to overcome that fear, to embrace this magical creature that you find through the love of the unconscious. You find your way into this higher power. I mean, that's the thing, is like, you and I can talk about God
Sure.
and know that lots of other people mean something different, like bearded man in the sky with a robe and sandals. But you and I, when we talk about that word, like, I think there's something there. I just think the thing is so different than what most people think of when they use that word, that I don't like to use that word to describe it.
Sure.
But I think there is something there. Now, I would argue, I don't know if that thing is outside of us or inside of us. Like, I don't know if that's just the deep part of the collective unconscious or whatever. But my point is, there's something we're seeking. There's a connection we're seeking to something magical and beautiful, and the angel archetype and fairies and the same kind of thing. They looked like that too. The creatures on the bottom. It's just such a clever idea to take these things and weave them into this story that's so fucking believable. That's what I love about it, even though the breathing oxygen's not a real thing, or breathing oxygen water is not a real thing. But God, I love that movie.
Yeah, I think one of the others that I loved at the time was Flatliners.
Oh yeah.
Which I don't know if you've seen.
Yes.
God, Flatliners is super cool. The afterlife, just, process of studying the afterlife. All of these medical students or
They made a sequel reboot, and I heard it was horrible.
yeah. Well, gosh, do you need? So it's Julia Roberts, Kiefer Sutherland. Who else is in that?
Kevin Bacon,
Yeah.
Oliver Platt.
Oh my God, so
Yeah,
many people.
it was nuts. I think there was somebody else too. It was almost everybody was like a big deal, or became a big deal. There's another movie, just totally off subject. Speaking of movies I watched with my dad.
Yeah.
There's this movie. I want to say it's got William Hurt in the main role. He plays a scientist, and they figure out a way. It might be Altered States. Is that another one of those Flatliners, interesting sci-fi psychological things? So it's basically, this guy comes up with this ability to record experiences and then play them back. So you can put a helmet on and you can record the entire experience of a thing and then play it back. And they record it on magnetic tape. Which even at the time, somebody had to be like, hey, that's not how that works. But whatever. If you can ignore that, the concept is really cool, that you could like record someone going on a roller coaster and then play it back. And it's not virtual reality. I mean, it is in that sense, but you're capturing all the sensation experiences. So the punchline of the movie, I won't spoil it, but the punchline of the movie is somebody dies while wearing it.
Ooh.
And so the end of the movie is William Hurt is like, I'm going to put it on and see what happened. What was the experience that he went through? I'm going to play it back. But my favorite part about the movie is this part where this guy like stole the machine, and they found him in his basement, and he'd been there for 3 days because he put the tape on loop after someone had fucked and recorded the experience, and then he put the tape on loop and then just got stuck there like in the experience for like 2 or 3 days. I'm probably remembering this wrong because I was pretty young when I saw it, but that really stood out to me, that I was like, that's a great idea.
Well, we're probably there-ish with VR, because
it's getting closer. No, but the thing is the physical experience too. Yeah, my
Three
yeah.
whole days.
What?
3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he got stuck. He couldn't get out of it. That was the thing.
Oh, oh, that could be really traumatizing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like there's a point when you want it to be over.
Also, is there chafing? If it's not, is it's happening but not happening? Do you feel the pain of chafing without actually chafing? Because
No, I imagine you feel exactly whatever the person who you recorded it was feeling, regardless
oh,
of whatever's happening to your own body.
I guess that's better.
Yeah.
Ish.
So then it would just continue to be the same amount of pleasurable.
But would it?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, I don't think you can do this because experience is generated like
In the
in the
body.
moment.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like I'm open to the idea that we might be able to copy brains at some point. Like you might be able to download an entire consciousness because there's no physics reason why that shouldn't be possible. We just don't remotely have the technology to do it. But I don't know how easy it would ever be to actually like cause the brain to stop experiencing what you're experiencing now and experience a completely fabricated, totally sensational experience.
Yeah.
Even
I'm
if you
just-
could record it, I don't know how you'd play it back.
I'm just really concerned for the endocrine system in that situation.
Yeah.
Like on play through number 9. Like
Yeah.
when does a person like if it can stimulate all of your processes to like respond as though it's really happening, then you're firing a whole lots of chemistry all over the place, and then where's
Yeah.
the recovery that happens?
Well, not that we need to go into this in detail, but I will say that erotic hypnosis is something I've explored quite extensively. And there are a number of parallels between what we're describing here and what you can actually do with somebody who's like fully in that state. But the difference is that their unconscious mind is cooperating. Like, in other words, you can't do it to them if they don't want it to happen.
Right. Yes.
So that is different. And even if you say like, okay, have an orgasm, now have 10 more over the course of the next 10 minutes, they might be able to, but they won't do it if there's a problem. Like if the house was on fire, your unconscious would be like, okay, stop.
Yeah. Fire.
Right.
Get it. Yeah.
Wow, this was tangential,
Sure. Yeah.
but fun.
I don't know how to segue into what I was watching.
See if
It
you can do a
works
smooth
because
one.
it's like sciencey, and it starts with like we were talking comic booksy stuff. So I watched the Watchmen or Watchmen, the TV series that who knows if they meant to do it as a limited series or if they meant to maybe have a second season and then the showrunner was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. So I'm not sure because I like looked up stuff afterwards. So there's a TV show from HBO.
Yeah,
And then there's also
I heard good things.
Watchmen the movie,
Right, different.
which I am having challenges with. Like lots of pausing, lots of like, oh, that one's fascinating, weird, dark, and kind of hard to watch.
Read the book.
Maybe.
Like
But-
the deal is that like he tried to do a shot for shot remake of the graphic novel in the movie, and that is not possible because the medium is different. And
Yep.
I'm not even saying I disliked it, but I think I only liked it because I've already read the book. And so it was
Yeah.
like familiar, familiar, familiar.
Yeah.
And like it was an homage, if you will, to the book. But the book is a masterpiece. It's
Sure.
really amazing.
Well, the HBO show is phenomenal. I got really excited because it was free for Juneteenth.
Yeah, I
I
heard
started
about
watching it there, and then I started watching it at a different place later after it wasn't free. And damn it, I am blanking out on the lead character's name, who I normally know. Shit. She was supposed to be in Raising Dion on Netflix, and I was really excited for it. I should look it up. Regina something? Regina, what's your last name?
I don't know. I mean, I only knew that Jeremy Irons was in it, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen it, so I don't know anybody
It
else.
is quirky. It is beautiful. The world they build is fairly complete
Yeah.
in such a beautiful way. Like when I got done watching this, and for context of my own life, I've been dedicating a lot of time to watching indie flicks in the last month or so because I've had some ideas of. I have three different movie ideas that I could actually. Well, one of them I could write, but I probably won't. And the other two I could write, and I don't know. I just wanted to get my brain around, okay, what's possible in indie films? And so I was like, okay. And I was also sort of mad to have asked the question, if I were to write a movie, what would it be? And then discover, oh, actually, that's a fucking good idea. I didn't need another good idea. Sweet. I have 70 projects that I'm doing right now, and writing a movie
Ugh.
is not on the list, but now it's on the
Hi.
list. Great. So, yeah, so I was like, sweet, I've got these two movies. Okay, maybe I'll figure out how to write them. So I was feeling good about myself and like I could do a movie. And these are even like I'm watching indie flicks and they're good indie flicks. They're simple, they're delightful. Rock on. Watch Watchmen. And I was at the end of it, I just felt like I should just give up.
Oh,
Like it was like so good and so perfect,
I know that
so
feeling so
beautiful.
well.
I was just like, fuck
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
it's not. It took me a while. I was texting a friend because I was just sharing this feeling, like, oh my god, I've been like, and he was like, but your idea is good, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, I know I can make a. I know I'm capable of making like an indie good, deliverable, good movie, but fuck, that was just good. It was like perfection. Like soundtrack, visuals, acting, all of it was just so tightly, perfectly done.
Wow.
And then I realized it helped that I did some research and found out that the showrunner, is not doing another season. And one of the things that he said that shifted my perspective was that a lot of the ideas for that show did not come from him. They came from like talking with the actors and soliciting feedback. And a lot of what was great was the wealth of all of the people working
Yeah,
on the show
collaboration.
from very different backgrounds. And I was like, oh, right. I can't make a fucking movie like that. And you know what?
Right.
No one else can.
Nobody can.
Nobody can make a fucking movie that's
But
that
some people
perfect.
can put together teams
Yes.
that can. And I think like
Yeah.
to go back to James Cameron and Peter Jackson with the Lord of the Rings, and that's what I think a great filmmaker is somebody not necessarily who even has the vision, but can bring the people together and create an environment where the collective can make something bigger and better than the sum of its parts.
Right. Which is interesting because I think if we take that and extrapolate it as a bigger, like a movie making process, should someone go behind the scenes? And at this point, maybe you could. Maybe what Hollywood and television could be doing very safely right now was letting us in on Zoom table reads and behind the scenes process of letting us in on any particular piece of beautiful something that changes the world is not done by one person.
Yeah.
And
That's what I listen to a lot of podcasts about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's helpful for me to be like, I didn't even know what sort of thing happened in a writer's room until I started listening to like the Kevin Smith podcast where he has Mark Bernardin come on. Mark is a writer. He used to work for like Entertainment Weekly and other things like that, but then he was like kept working at putting scripts out there and stuff, and now he's a like staff writer for a bunch of different TV shows, and you kind of got to see him come up
Yeah.
and achieve that success. But then the two of them just talk about how the sausage is made all the time, and
Yeah.
it does weirdly increase my enjoyment of movies. That's I don't think I ever really thought about that before, but I do think that part of the reason I like movies so much is I like knowing how they did that and then being like, oh cool. Like
Yeah.
it sucks me in more.
Well, and the whole thing that I'm thinking about right now as an entrepreneur and somebody who's visionary and creative is the bullshit story of the self-made man and how fucking toxic that is to everyone. No one has ever been or will ever be self-made.
Yeah.
And how useful and beautiful it would be to give more examples about what teams do, how that works, how people can work together to create something wonderful. I mean, you look at the end of these movies we love, and you just like 3 to 5 songs length of amazing people around the world that put together some of the things that we're like, oh my God, go Robert Downey Jr. Right? They're like, that's a whole team. But who is out there talking about what it means to pull off a creative vision, something that moves people? We've lost liner notes because no one buys CDs, but an album takes several facilities and a bunch of musicians and produce. Like, most of the things that we love in this world that seem like they're created by one person are done by a team. And I want to pull back the curtain and really go into talking about, like, fuck, we can do things together, especially since we're yelling at each other and arguing so much.
Well, and I like that you expanded it beyond art and movies to everything. I mean, no one is self-made. You were literally made inside another person by that person.
Yeah.
No one is self-made.
And
then what happened after that? Did you just born and then you immediately no one helped me.
Like, billions I'm great.
And I think it's a super damaging myth. Okay, well, good way to wrap it up.
Thanks.
Nice little bow on there. I like it. Well, for neither of us having watched too much stuff, I think that was pretty good.
Enjoyed it. Thanks for being here.
Then let's see you next week.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming with us on this
Later,
adventure.
folks. Going TV deeply.
We'll see you
Bye.
next time. Bye.